Yo, 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 welcome into another episode of Rock Boys Football. Today we are giving you our inaugural preseason first team All Americans on the defensive side of the football. So we're going to give you guys our favorite players who we think will be first team All Americans on defense. And then the next episode, we are going to do offense. As usual, if you guys like the content, like and subscribe, and we're going to jump right into it. Dill, who's your first defensive end?
Pretty obvious. Kayvon Thibodeau, nothing to say. Probably the best player in college football, best defensive end for sure.
Yeah, I think he has to be. I mean, the only thing you worry about him is like he might not have the stats as much if people just like chip him, send two guys to him. That being said, he'll probably get the stats. I mean, he's the
But
best player.
it doesn't like matter. It's like if you're the best player on the field, you're still the best.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's a no-brainer. Okay, so we're gonna go to your first D tackle. We'll just go DN, D tackle, DN for our D line.
Now, my first defensive tackle, I don't think you're gonna love, but I have Isaiah Thompson from Oklahoma. In my opinion, he's probably one of the more athletic defensive tackles I've ever seen in college football. And
he's undersized though.
Being his size, I don't think he gets pushed around badly, and he's super active, quite productive, and I don't know. I really just loved his game.
Yeah, I mean, from what I saw of him in the Iowa State game, that whole D line was winning against Iowa State, but like he was good. He was really him and Perry and Winfrey were really good.
That whole D line, a force in every game. He's like really good, and I don't know if he can get up to 280, 290. I think he's for sure a high level NFL player, but I mean, they have him listed at 267 from last year, so obviously that's a light D tackle, but
I have 262, so I mean,
yeah, so that's super light, but I mean, he was very productive, very active. That certainly helps when you have quarterbacks who like to run, and I loved how he played. I thought he made Oklahoma's defense way better, and I thought he was the lead guy, not Perrion Winfrey personally. But
yeah, I mean, he put up very, very good numbers. He had 12 TFLs and 7.5 sacks for an interior guy. Like that's good. Low key, it might be like a stretch to be calling him an interior guy because I feel like he might line up more outside too. But I mean, it's a good pick because
I didn't think he did. So
he did in the Iowa State game. Him. Yeah, no, I didn't think so either. He's just undersized. He'll put up stats better than most. My first D tackle is Brian Brazy. He was, I mean, as a true freshman last year, great at playing exclusively ACC, which isn't like the best in the country. He was dominant. He put up really good numbers, but you can just see him wrecking games. I watched him in the spring game, and he also was. I mean, you give him another 12 months in a Division I college football program, strength training like Clemson, and he's just going to be an absolute animal. He was already, and so now you're just like getting better. He had 6.5 tackles for loss, 4 sacks. So I think we're gonna see that jump from that true freshman year to that true sophomore year. That's going to be incredible. I could see him having double digits in both categories there. Yeah, I'm really excited, and he's not going to get that much attention. I mean, you got guys like Miles Murphy, Tyler Davis, Xavier Thomas. Like that whole D line is really good, so you can't really like focus all on Brian Brazy. So he's going to be really good.
I'll agree with him for my second D tackle. He was an animal last year, and as a true freshman, I mean, in a sense, like you're playing against like full-grown adults, and he's 18 years old, just dominating. So I agree with that. He's certainly my pick for second D tackle or other D tackle, whatever you want to call it. Just a super dominant player, the best player probably on that defense last year for Clemson, because they really weren't as good as maybe they have been in the past few years. But him in that defensive line, yeah, they're going to be a unit this year. So I'll agree with them for the second.
My second one is Jordan Davis, and he is a little bit, in my mind, underrated, but just extremely dominant. I worry a little bit about the numbers, because I don't think he'll light up the stat sheet like as Isaiah Thompson will, who you were talking about, Isaiah Thomas. That being said, I think he's going to be really, really good. Very, very.
He's an old school battleship, though. It's like he does his role, but I don't like the good D tackles in this game aren't 350 pounds and aren't moving, and I just don't see him as quite the athlete you'd want to be a dominant D tackle, because
that's fair.
He's not a penetrator. He's not exactly he's not making a ton of plays. I mean, he does what he does, and he
only had
tackles.
One. He only had 1-1 last year, 1 TFL and one sack. So that's not like. Yeah. But from what I see on film of him, I love. You can tell he's just disruptive. He didn't play as much. He only played 7 games, so he wasn't in there as much. But I think he's going to be really good. I mean, there's other guys like Haskell Garrett I really like. Perrion Winfrey I really like. That could be it. I think it's more of a projection. I think Jordan Davis is going to have a really good year. I think this Georgia team's going to have a really good year. Yeah, I think you would make a really good point, though. He's really big, 6'6", 330. It's kind of hard to light up the stat sheet because you're just not athletic enough.
And he's not carrying at a great way. It's not
I actually think he's pretty solid, but
What do you mean solid, though?
Oh, he carries it well. You should look him up on Instagram.
But you think? But I'm not talking about his body. Who cares about that?
I thought you were talking about his body. I thought you were talking about how he carries
football. It's not a bodybuilding contest.
I thought you were
He doesn't carry it in the sense that he can move. He's not a mover. He's not particularly active, and that hurts. This game is not played where people are running inside the box the way they used to. So if you can't get out on stretches and be disruptive in that sense, which I don't think he's got.
I mean, the only problem with Jordan Davis, what I see with the All-American potential All-American projection is just the stats. You're not necessarily going to win an All-American honor, a first-team All-American honor, by being a good film player. You have to also get sacks. You also have to get TFLs. You also have to bat balls down. And so if he's just purely going to be disruptive but not necessarily finish plays, yeah, I could see him not being an All-American. All right, so who's your second D end?
I have Brenton Cox from Florida. Now, this is my guy. I don't get why people don't like him. I don't know what everyone else is seeing. But this is a very good pass rusher and a very skilled pass rusher. He doesn't just have athleticism. Not that I'd say he has that in droves by any means. But
he tweeted something out,
just a super skilled. Yeah, he did tweet something about twitchiness, which I love. But I thought he was really, really good last year, and I don't know what other people aren't seeing. Just in terms of pass rushing, he rushes the passer like a pro, kind of. He doesn't just win on athleticism. He's got moves. He's able to shed blocks with his hands, and he's able to get on the edge on guys. I just think overall he's a super solid player, and he needs to have more respect. So I'll carry the torch for him and put him on my preseason All-American list.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why you're doing it because it's your guy. I think he will. He's not a bad pick because I do think he'll light up the stat sheet. He is a good pass rusher. He had a pretty good season last year after he transferred from Georgia. So he played at Georgia in 2018, transferred into Florida, sat out here in 2020. He had 10 TFLs and 3.5 sacks. So he rushed I'm surprised he only had 3.5 sacks. I thought he rushed the passer at a more effective rate than that. And I don't think it's a misguided projection to see him maybe getting double-digit sacks. My defensive end is Miles Murphy, and it's a very, very similar reason for why I'm picking Brian Brzee. These guys were just an absolute incredible tandem of true freshmen. You give them another year to develop. I mean, these guys are still developing their bodies and getting stronger in a college gym, a college weight room. He had 3 forced fumbles. Like, he's a playmaker. He gets in the backfield a lot, 10 TFLs and 4 sacks. And I just see that jump again. And similar to Brian Brazee, I think he's just going to be an absolute beast next year for the next 2 years. And so that's why I have Myles Murphy.
I'm not going to argue Myles Murphy. Really, I kind of agree. He's a good player, obviously very young, and with that defense, they're gonna put some numbers up and be a really dominant unit. So I don't disagree with Myles Murphy. I just see Brenton Cox as a legitimate, refined prospect who has what like you kind of want to see, not just athleticism, but really good skill. So hey, he's my guy. I'm going to do.
All right, no, you ride your guy. That's kind of my Jordan Davis pick, I guess. All right, so we're gonna move on to linebackers. This was linebacker, like getting to preseason All-American honors with like linebackers was tough for me because there's like a lot of these like linebackers that I want, like Nick Bonito, but he's like an edge guy, or like I think his name's Will Anderson from Bama. They're like, I mean, like I don't know if I want to call them a linebacker, so I went with 3 more traditional middle linebacker guys who play more of a traditional linebacker role. My first guy is Devin Lloyd from Utah. Now, this is one of those where it's like, is he the best linebacker in the country? No. Is he going to have tremendous stats? Yes. And I'm not saying it's all about stats, but it is a decent amount about like how many tackles can you get, how many TFLs can you get. So he played in listen to this. He only played in 5 games last year. He amassed 48 total tackles, 10 tackles for loss, and 2 sacks. The year before, he played in 14 games, had 91 tackles, 11 TFLs, and 6.5 sacks. So this guy, although maybe not a first-round linebacker prospect, is an absolute beast in the stat room, like on the stat sheet. And that means a lot when you're thinking about, and I'm not trying to say he's not a good football player. He's a very, very good football player too. That being said, like those stats from what we saw last year and then projecting another, maybe like just like getting better. Yeah. I mean, I love him.
Yep. I have no problem with that pick. The only thing is Utah is going to be a snooze team this year. I just kind of,
but for
I don't know. I just don't see it being an entertaining brand of football, a good team. So, I chose my top linebacker. I think now, do you think it's close? Is Christian Harris for Bama. I think he's going to be possibly a top 5 pick in the draft, and a guy who goes sideline to sideline, does everything well as a linebacker, and was dominant last year. So I just see him getting better and better. And I think he covers at a much higher level than the average linebacker. So I'm really excited to see what he does this year. And I imagine he's going to have one of the better years of college football linebacking play in a while.
And my only problem is, and I kind of talked about it with Devin Lloyd, is Devin Lloyd's not the best. I'm not saying he's better than Christian Harris, but with Henry To'oTo'o in the backfield with him, I just don't like, is he going to be able to like be that guy to be like a first team All-American? Because like if you have Henry To'oTo'o getting 80, 90 tackles a game, he might probably have around 90 tackles. Will Anderson Jr. is probably going to have around like 50-ish. And so it's just like, and then you're battling with like Jordan Battle from the secondary. So it's like there's so many good players on that team. It's like, can one guy just carry the load? That's kind of why I went with Devin Lloyd. Devin Lloyd just carries that defense. He's like the Devin Bush of Michigan's football team. He's like, if without Devin Bush, they're nothing. Like Devin Lloyd is all over the field. I don't know if Christian Harris, albeit might be the best linebacker in the country, will he get the stats to be a first-team All-American? I don't know.
I feel like you're way too focused on stats, just on a broad level. But like,
I actually might.
I don't know.
What do they do? I mean, like, I would love to know like the conversations they have when they're deciding who, like, because like their stats have to play a role in it. But also,
but that's because good players put stats. Yeah, obviously, of course.
But are they going through like Mike? I don't know. Mike Rose was a first-team All-American last year because he had 5 interceptions. But he wasn't like nearly. He's not top 3 linebacker. He's not even close to a top 3 linebacker in the country.
That's possibly fair. Like I like Mike Rose a lot more than you personally. I think he
in that defense. Like where do you think he gets picked next year?
Oh, pick? Yeah, I mean he's not going. Probably not first round. He doesn't. He's like, but that doesn't like necessarily like guys like Scooby Wright were dominant, awesome college football linebackers. Manti Te'o in a similar vein, just really good. And I think there's a difference between having the ability to shine in college and having the ability to shine in the pros. And if you're dominating the game in college, whether you're putting up stats or not, I think you are All-American level. And I mean, obviously, Scooby Wright and Manti Te'o did major numbers, but like they were also awesome on the field. Like they were super good for their team, and their teams won games because of them.
I have the CBS 2020 All-Americans, All-American teams. So
what was linebackers?
I'll go to linebackers.
Just because we're talking about them.
They had Zaven Collins, JOK, and Joseph Osai. So they didn't even have Mike Rose.
So they just picked. That's stupid that they're just picking pass rushers, but whatever.
Yeah, that's also the thing. Like, I want to put Nito there, but it's like
I call him a D end. That's what he plays.
Yeah, he's an edge guy. I don't know if he's a DB. He's an edge guy. He's not a linebacker. So I don't know.
That's my opinion.
But I'm looking at like the guys they decided to give it to, like Dylan Moses for one. I don't know how on the second team. He's horrible.
He didn't even do stats, so I don't know.
Patty Fisher. Like they give second team honors to Patty Fisher, who like was a stat machine. Like throughout.
But Patty Fisher, like what are you saying? He wasn't awesome for Northwestern and didn't make their defense way better, even though he's not athletic.
Is he even a top 15 linebacker in the country?
For draft prospects?
10.
For draft.
Yes.
No. But again, that doesn't even I don't know why that matters so much, dude. They're somewhat different games. You can dominate at the college level
and you project throughout the NFL.
By having a better football sense and all that. Yeah, Just because he's not athletic enough to be a high level pro doesn't mean he couldn't have been an awesome college player.
They gave Sean Wade on it. Like, I just like that. I mean,
I'm not gonna like argue everything they do because a lot of it's gonna be stupid and like, of course, but
I guess I'm just picking my best guy. Yeah, you're just picking your best guys at the position. I don't know if that's how they do it. They clearly do.
I don't care how they do it. I'm not going to try to predict the brains of crazy people who are
that's fair.
Writers.
Okay. That's actually fair. So just picking like the best players. I'm still picking Devin Lakes. I think he's a dog. All right, here's who I just think is one of the better linebackers in the country. Is my second linebacker, Nakobe Dean from Georgia. He kind of got like overshadowed by Monte Rice, but like Nakobe Dean, it plays with his hair on fire. He needs to a little bit like Cam McGrone, what we saw from him last year. It's like, okay, let's calm down and see the game a little bit better. But he's one of those guys where like you see him flash or shoot a hole and get a tackle for a loss or like a sack. And it's like, oh my God, this guy's like has it. He just needs to put it together. And so if Nakobe Dean can like take that step and put it together, I love him.
I actually love Nakobe Dean too. I don't even understand how Monty Rice was playing by the end of the year in any capacity in front of Kobe Dean or at the middle instead of having Kobe Dean there because I didn't even think it was close between those two. I mean, Monty Rice just not the athlete, he just didn't do what that middle, like he wasn't really going sideline to sideline and Nakobe Dean certainly was. So I'm very much with you on that pick. Now, I thought my second was Noah Sewell, in a little bit in the vein of what you're doing with Miles Murphy and Brian Brazee.
I don't hate it.
Just a big, physical, young linebacker who had a really good year last year for them. And you just like, as he continues to like tune up his body and get in like ready to play physically at the college level. Not that he wasn't last year, but just I mean, it looks like he's lost a little bit of weight, and
if anything, I want him to lose.
He'll be ready to go. So, yeah, no, he was playing like 260 probably last year, which is big.
Yeah, he's listed 250, which is massive.
So I'm well, he's 6'3" though, so 6'3", 250
yeah, that's a good point.
Isn't bad. So that's like that makes me think he's probably like kind of tuned up his body, and then he'll be ready to go. And just in terms of what he did last year, just a really good player, really physical. Didn't seem to have any issues with like speed and athleticism, even at the weight. So I think he's have a dominant year in the Pac-12 this year.
If you're coming in, and it's a little off topic, if you're coming in as 6'3", 260, presumably like similar like length to his brother, like I feel like I would just project that guy as an edge and put him at the DN spot. I don't know. Like I'm not saying like Mario Cristobal is way smarter than me and whoever they got in that defensive coordinator room. But like that just seems like if you're coming in as an 18-year-old that big, I'm putting you at D end, not linebacker. But he's good. He's a very good linebacker. So I'm not at him. So yeah, he had good 7 games. He had 48 total tackles, which is pretty solid for a freshman. 6.5 TFLs and 2 sacks. Yeah, I like the pick because I think it's a projection. The thing with him is I think he needs to take a little bit more of a step than what Miles Murphy did and Brian Brzee did. Like Brian Brzee and Miles Murphy were like already like there kind of. Noah Sewell isn't quite there yet, but I don't hate the pick. Like
I don't agree with him. I thought Miles Murphy was like solid, but I didn't see him flashing at the level of like this guy. If you put him alone, is going to dominate college football. Like Brian Brzee certainly was. He was an animal.
Brazee's the little.
But I think Miles Murphy may have been a bit of a product of being on probably one of the best defensive lines you've ever seen.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Yeah, that's
my third linebacker is Mike Rose Jr. From Iowa State. And this is kind of like he was a first teamer last year. He had 5 interceptions last year, ended up having 99 total tackles, 10 TFLs. He's all over the field for Iowa State. I mean, he's tackling guys in the backfield. He's getting picks. He's just the best player on that defense, in my opinion. That being said, that's why I have him as my first teamer at that last linebacker spot.
I'm almost surprised you put Mike Rose because of the hate you put on him. But
I don't hate him. I
love Mike Rose. I don't think you appreciate how good he is in coverage and how much of a sense he has when he drops back in zones. Like you chalk up his interceptions to like lock and whatever. But he just has a great sense when he's in coverage and when he's playing in the zone. He plays it like kind of like a safety. He's that good, and
not athletic.
I think that means a lot. Yeah, but like again, we're just gonna go back to this, and I know this is like your thing, is you think it's like the decathlon where it's all about athleticism, and a part it is. But if you're a dominant player, it doesn't matter if you run a 5.50 or a 4.5. Like it's just that's not what football is. It's an actual sport that has nothing to do with running. If you can play it without being able to run, it doesn't matter. So I don't know why you hate on Mike Rose because he's not athletic enough.
Do you think that he tested talked to like NFL agents and said like, where do you think I'm getting picked, and then decided to come back? Or do you think it's like, I love Matt Campbell, I love Iowa State, I want to ride one more year?
I think he's not going to get picked high, probably.
Because it's like I would feel like you got to try to capitalize off that year of 100 tackles.
Yeah, but I think he knows he's not going to get picked high, so he probably just loves Iowa State, so he's probably just doing it.
Yeah, he might not. He might have just blindly said, I want to go play for Matt Campbell one more year, especially with. I don't know.
Especially because they could be a good team. So
they will be a good team.
So my third, I know you're gonna hate.
Oh, you didn't do Mike Rose, okay?
Is Jeremiah Gemmel, and I think
that's horrible.
If you jump back to his 2019 year, he was an unreal player in my opinion, and I mean, he wasn't putting up like big stats, but that was partially because he was running with Chaz Surratt, so it's like hard to split the.
Yeah, that's kind of the same
But
idea.
in terms of pure play, in 2019, he was an unreal player. Like I thought he was better than Chaz Surratt.
I
agree. He was all over the field. He was, and he wasn't like making a ton of bad tackles. Like he was making good plays, good tackles, and being super productive, and just had the look that like, oh man, this guy is different out here. I remember last year, I think he took a step back last year, and I'm projecting him like, okay, take his 2019, be better than 2019, and he's gonna be an All-American level. But I thought he was gonna be a high draft pick this year. Obviously, he chose not to leave, and I think without Chaz, he's gonna do huge numbers. He's gonna have like a resurgence or a renaissance, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And dominate this year. So I'm really excited for him.
He's definitely 100 tackle. Obviously, he stays healthy and plays all 12 games /13 maybe. He'll have 100 tackles. I remember 2 years ago. So this was just 1 year ago. We were doing a little summer scouting. And we were like, all right, let's watch Surratt. Let's watch Chad Surratt play. And we're like watching a UNC game. And we're like, who's this 44 kid? Who's this 44 kid right next to him? He was jumping. Yeah. He looked better than Surratt did. There we look him up, Jeremiah Gemmel. So I'm not gonna say I like the picks. I don't think he'll be in the conversation, but he very well could have like 100 tackles and be a dog. So I don't hate it. We all gotta pick our flyers. We don't want to just go chalk. So I like it. I like it a lot. Let's move on to safeties, and I feel like one is not really up for debate. Kyle Hamilton from Notre Dame.
In my opinion, there's two secondary guys who could not play this year and be All-Americans, and that's Stingley and Hamilton.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know how much you want to talk about him. I'm sure you had Stingley too, and I had Hamilton, obviously.
Well, Kyle,
but those two guys, they're such incredible players, and if they went in the draft this year, they would have both been top 10 for sure. So I think I'm with you. Those Hamilton 1, Stingley 2 locks for All-Americans in my mind.
Yes, yeah, Kyle Hamilton for sure, and then Derek Stingley Jr. is one of the better cornerback prospects we've seen in a really long time. The thing with Kyle Hamilton is that I heard he was like battling a foot injury all year. He like didn't play in some of the games. So like I'm really excited to see him like full strength, getting ready. He had 4 interceptions in 2019 and then only 1 this year. But yeah, we talked about him when we did like the NFL mocks. Like I love Kyle Hamilton. So we'll go. So we have Stanley, and obviously you don't need to talk much about Derek Stanley. He's a beast. Who's your second safety?
I took Daxton Hill from Michigan. Now this is like my guy. I think he was the only bright spot on that whole team last year. Everything else stunk, and I was pissed about it. But Daxton Hill is an unbelievably good player, and I think what he separates him is he has the ability to be a lockdown man cover slot guy.
Yes.
Along with the ability to play a center fielder role. So that versatility and the ability to tackle.
Yeah, he's a good tackler. He's tough. He's tough tackler. Yeah.
So I think he just has everything, and I don't think, again, another guy I just don't think gets any respect for some reason, and he doesn't have like interception numbers, but that's in some sense because he's playing a fair amount of man coverage and he's just doing an elite job at it along with his safety duties. So yeah, he's my second safety in this All-American list.
Okay, my second safety, and I spent a lot of time like trying to figure out what I wanted to do with the second safety. It really came down to Jordan Battle from Alabama, Bubba Bolden from Miami, Brandon Joseph from Northwestern. I ended up going with Bubba Bolden, who I probably like least in terms of like potential draft, potential like draft prospects, I probably have him third behind those two. That being said, at the college level, I think he's got a little bit of like playmaking that he showed in 2020. He had 74 tackles. He had 6.5 for loss. They love to walk him up, and let him wreak havoc in the box. But he's also like pretty good in coverage. And if we're looking at like, I'm not gonna say he's Jamal Adams, but he's kind of get those vibes of like, okay, we're gonna walk him up and he's gonna be very, very good. Blitzing is gonna be very, very good in the box. He's not like the best at the back end, but I think that could potentially lead to an All-American year if you light it up with like 85 tackles, 10 tackles for a loss, a couple of sacks.
Yeah, I hate that. And I know I get the Jamal Adams comparison because that's 100% what I think about him, but I hate that as that's not how good safeties play anymore. Jamal Adams thinks he's going to get paid well. He's definitely not.
You guys get to,
and it's just so like what's the point? Like just go play linebacker if that's what you do. Like Jamal Adams, you're like you get a couple sacks a game and then you just get roasted in coverage everywhere you are. I think Bubba Bolden's very similar. He's more or less a linebacker who's playing safety.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that plays in college.
Yeah,
to an extent, it plays to an extent in the pros if you're good enough. But I think in terms of being a steady, dominant player, it doesn't. And you can't be that far out of your position. Yeah. In terms of skill level on coverage and playing the ball in the air.
You asked if it plays in the NFL. Jamal Adams is the best we've ever seen at doing that. You know what I mean?
Like, yeah, no, 100. He's not the athlete. Adams is. He's not even close. I
don't even know if I'm putting Jamal Adams in my top 5 safety list at this point.
I don't think he is.
So yes, and that's what I said. I was like, I don't know if I'm projecting that high in the NFL. It's not like he can't do it, but I have questions about it. But I do think he'll be like an 85 plus tackle guy this year, especially with the weak linebacking. I mean, Miami needs to do that. I was talking with a few Miami fans the other day. Like, they're like, our linebackers stink. And I'm like, yeah, that's why you walk Bubba Bolden up so much. Because like you need to address that. So yeah, I think there's a chance. So let's go with let's go with our last spot, our second cornerback position. Who you got?
I have Josh Jobe from Alabama. I think he is a super underrated cornerback that, I mean, you don't see him giving up a whole lot of plays or getting exposed much. And even with Surtain, I think that's certainly a huge benefit that he had a running mate who was helping share the duties of like big man coverage. And but that's what Alabama does. They play their 2 guys on the outside man and then do with very little help from safeties. And they're relied on to do a lot and are very important. And he does an awesome job at it. So I think he is my cornerback too. And I don't know, people got to again start like respecting him more than they do. And I think I don't
even know if it's a disrespect as much as just like an overlook.
Those are synonyms, but
that's fair enough. Yeah, it's just like, but like justifiably overlooked. Like Patrick Surtain was better objectively.
Well, yeah.
And so it's like, yeah, he's not going to be the focus of like when we're talking about Alabama secondary. I'm not going to talk about Josh Jobe last year. I'm talking about Pat Surtain. Fair. That being said, I like the pick. I'm not going with Josh Jobe, but I like the pick. And we also can't go wrong with picking Alabama DBs. Like they're normally good. Especially at the college level. I'm going with Kaiir Elam from Florida. I know the Florida fans haven't been a fan of me as of late, so I'm giving them a little love. And this is kind of like a projection pick. I mean, he was good last year, but he wasn't like a first-team All-American last year. And we talked about this too during our 2022 NFL mock. Like he has like the length. He has like that ability. He just got to put it together. I think it was really hard last year because he got beat pretty good by those Bama receivers. Everybody did. So he struggled a little bit, but like I like Elam a lot. I think I heard somebody say that he'll be in the category of CB1B. And I don't think that. I'm not saying he's going to even like kind of be sniffing Derek Stingley, but I think he'll be a first round pick next year. And I think if he puts it together, we'll see him be a first team All American. I'm trying to think of some other DBs that could give him a run. I think Seven Banks, a lot of people like. I don't really see it. Yeah, I don't really see it either. He's like rather bad last year, but people like him. And then I know Tyke Smith and Darion Kendrick have gotten some love. I think Andrew Booth's gotten some love at Clemson. So there's like a 6 or 7 guys who are kind of like, if you let me say, okay, I promise you these 7 guys will be the two first team All Americans, I would like my chances.
I'm with. I think in terms of the guys I think are next, Darion Kendrick. I mean, if he plays what he did at, like, if he plays to the potential he had at Clemson, his peak at Clemson was awesome.
Yeah.
And if he puts a year of that together, he's a first team All American, way over Josh Jobe, because he's just a more talented player. I think Josh Jobe's been super consistent. Not like, I wouldn't call him dominant. It's just he's wildly consistent and he does everything you kind of want. And again, we'll see if he can put a dominant year together this year, not just just being really steady, solid guy. But Darion Kendrick in that Georgia defense, I could see easily being a first team All American and possibly like being the guy.
Especially because besides Stingley, but yeah, it's like.
No, I don't. I think he could be as good as any.
Yeah, I don't.
Stingley.
I think people are doing that too. I like, from what I read, is like, oh, like Elam he can challenge Stingley for CB1. It's like, okay, like, I don't know.
But we don't even know what Darion Kendrick really is, because Dabo hated him for whatever, God knows.
Yeah,
why.
but like, we know what Derek Stingley is, and he's like one of the better prospects we've seen since like Jalen Ramsey. That cornerback.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know. I'm not gonna start throwing around. I'm not disagreeing. I am disagreeing with you, but like, I don't know. We just gotta be careful about like, okay, like, he's the next Derek Stingley. Wait a second. Like, we gotta watch him first. But
when he was balling at Clemson, he was as good as any. Like, he was unreal, and he was making plays. And
I never heard him in the light of Derek Stingley, so I don't know.
Because he hasn't played seasons, really. He's been suspended for like his whole career.
I agree.
I think Dabo's doghouse.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. That I now, for me as this year a current Georgia fan, like, I'm happy he's going to be at Georgia, because they kind of needed some depth there after losing Stokes and Campbell. And I think one last note before we close out the show. Your job gets a lot easier when you can manufacture a really good pass rush. You know what I mean? Like, you're asked, okay, you got playing man coverages, and the quarterback's not throwing off a good platform, pockets blown up. That's a lot easier. I mean, we saw that with Devontae Smith was able to run some of those extended routes where it took a little bit longer to develop, because Mac Jones had this cleanest pocket in the world to throw from. That Georgia DBs won't have to deal with that. The guys are going to get 3.5 seconds tops to get open. If you don't get open then, like, that play is getting blown up. And so your job gets a lot easier when you can manufacture a really good pass rush, and Georgia will have the best pass rush in the country. So before we close out the show, let us know if you guys want us to do a second team All-American list. Me and Dale enjoyed doing this a lot. I had a really fun time, like, choosing who my first team All-Americans will be. We'll keep track of our picks, and so, like, at the end of the year, we'll have an episode where we go back, see who is more right. So Dale, make sure you keep your picks. I'll keep my picks. We'll be back early next week with a All-American list for the offensive side of the ball. And again, if you guys like these videos, maybe we'll do second and third teams too. We're just trying to grind out content until we can get into some of the picks of the season. So as usual, thank you guys for listening. Talk to you guys later. Peace.